Hello. Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Kristen. I'm the director of the Island Free Library on Block Island, small island off the coast of Rhode Island. It is Friday afternoon, February 5th, 2021. I have decorated glasses today. There are kids in the library today, and I got what did I get? Penguins. I got 2 penguins today. I was going to go for one. They insisted I have matching penguins. We got masks in, so librarians are double masking these days. Double mask. Some librarians are double masking. Other librarians have enough trouble breathing through one. What else can I tell you? I'm drinking coffee. It's almost finished. I'm going to read a story today that I like. I like it a lot. I hope you like it. This is a short story program for adult listeners. It's a chance for us to stay connected to you, our patrons, our community, our family, our friends, and for you to stay connected to us here at the Island Free Library. I try to read every day at 3 o'clock. This month, I'm celebrating Black History Month with you, reading an American Black author every day. Today, I am reading Anthony Grooms. The name of his short story that I'm reading today is Food That Pleases, Food to Take Home. I'm going to give it one more second, have one more sip of something before I start. It's warm out on Block Island today. And our bank is open. I called today to make a bank appointment because I thought that's what we had to do, but we don't. You can walk into the bank and go and do banking on Block Island at Washington Trust. And things changed last night in Rhode Island. Their numbers increases. The governor did something, or I don't know, the lieutenant governor. I don't even know who did something. But, numbers are increasing for certain events, certain businesses. I can't really tell. But, people can return to offices and things are changing. The numbers are looking good. And so subsequently, restrictions are getting eased slightly. And, things like, I know what one of them is. You can eat with another household at a table at a restaurant. You don't have to have at the restaurant, it's not only your table. You could have another household at your table. Things like that. Slight changes. Things are happening here in Rhode Island. Maybe I'll have a chance to read those and I can do a better report, or maybe you'll just go and do a report on those. That's something's happening. I did not get any library recalibration notice in my email today. None of that affected the library thus far. But we're open, and you come in, we ask you to spend limited amount of time to browse. There's a couple of workstations for you. We ask that you use those for half hour to an hour, that kind of thing. Hour would be the long end of it. That would be maybe half hour is permitted, 15 minutes is preferred. And I didn't see any changes of that with whatever was announced last night, but something could be forthcoming. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. How's that? I'll keep you posted. All right, let's get to our story. So I'm reading off the internet. I'm actually reading from a Google book. Let me go here first. This is who I'm reading. I'm reading Anthony Grooms. He wrote a 1995 collection called Trouble No More. That's what I'm reading a story from. The story I'm reading is Food That Pleases, Food to Take Home by Anthony Grooms from his collection Trouble No More, published in 1995. But I'm reading it from an anthology collection from Google Books, and I'm on the page of the story I'm reading from, so I can't tell you the name of the books, but I think it's, I'm not sure what it is. We can go back to it, but as you know, it's like when I'm on that page and I'm on the internet, I just want to read the story. I don't want to lose it. So let's go for it. Food That Pleases, Food to Take Home by Anthony Grooms. Annie McPhee wasn't sure about Mary Telefero was telling her. Mary said that colored people in Louisa should stand up for their rights. They were doing it in the cities. Mary said that Channel 6 from Richmond had shown pictures of Negroes sitting in at lunch counters. She laughed that colored people were becoming Negroes. Walter Cronkite had shown pictures from Albany and Birmingham. Negroes were on the move. On the church lawn one bright Sunday, Mary caught hold of Annie's arm and whispered, "What you think of Reverend Green's sermon?" She knew Annie had eyes for Reverend Green. "It was nice," Annie said. She pushed the pillbox back onto her head and patted her flip curl. "But don't you think he was right about doing something?" "Course he right," Annie said with a smack of her lips, "but ain't nobody gonna do nothing." Then she saw a glint in Mary's eyes. "What you gonna do and where?" "We could march." "Who gun march?" Mary held her hat against the wind that rustled through the fallen oak leaves. "We could organize a march downtown. We could march down Main Street and tell them white folks that we want our rights." "And that'll be the end of it, girl. Who gonna march with you? Everybody around here is scared to march." Mary pulled on Annie's elbow and guided her away from the folks gathering in front of the clapboard church to the pebbly space next to the cemetery. "I know what you thinking, girl, but I'm too tired of it to be scared. I wish something would happen around here, and I figure we just the ones to start it." "You the one." Annie put on her dark glasses. "Tell me who I look like." "Humph." Mary turned up her lips for a second. "I don't know, girl. Lisbeth Taylor?" "Nah, child. You know I don't look like no Lisbeth Taylor. Somebody else. Somebody even more famous than that." "Richard Burton?" "I'm gonna kill you. Do I look like a man?" Annie gave Mary one more chance. She stepped back, her heels sinking into the soft hill of a grave, and put her hands on her hips. The wind folded her dress against her thighs. "Look at the hair and the glasses." Mary frowned as she examined Annie, and finally she gave up. "Jackie Kennedy! Don't I look just like Jackie Kennedy?" "Yeah, with the glasses, I guess you do," Mary said. "Anybody would, even me, if I had them sunglasses on." "It'll take more than a pair of sunglasses." "But for real," Mary continued, and started toward the parking lot. "We could start something. We could make the news if we did something in Louisa. We could just see maybe sitting up there on Walter Cronkite. I can just see myself sitting up there on Walter Cronkite. Sitting in the Louisa jail be more like it. Them white folks don't want no trouble." "It don't matter what they want. Just like Reverend Green said, it matter what's right." "Then how come he ain't doing it?" "I bet he will if somebody started it. You know he's a preacher and he can't just run out and start no stuff." Mary placed her palms on the hood of the used Fairlane she had bought in Richmond with a down payment she had saved from factory work. She leaned up on her toes, as Reverend Green was known to do, and deepened her voice. "The Lord helps them that helps themselves. Amen. Say, the Lord provides." Annie swatted at her and giggled. "Somebody gonna hear you." The Lord will part the Red Sea of injustice and send down the manna of equal rights. Bill Green don't sound like that. Annie folded her arms. Since when you call him Bill? Since when I want to. Mary's round cheeks dimpled and her teeth contrasted with her purplish black face. Just think how Bill Green would like it if we did something. How do you know what Reverend Green would like? Annie whispered pointedly. I just bet he would. They dressed to kill. They put on Sunday suits, high heels, and pillboxes. Mary wore her good wig. They put on lipstick and rouge and false eyelashes and drove to town in Mary's Fairlane. They had decided to sit in at May's drugstore. They parked at the far end of the one stoplight street, deserted in the cool mid-morning. People were at work in the factory or in the fields or at the schools. The few people they passed stared at them, but no one knew them. Don't you just hate it? Mary said, seeming to bolster her anger as they walked down toward the store. If you go in there, the minute you step in the door, old Lady May will break her neck running over to you. Can I help you? You know, in that syrupy sweet way. She won't let you look around for a second. Afraid you're going to steal something. Annie looked straight ahead down the street of wooden and brick shops. The perspective was broken by the courthouse square and the little brick jailhouse beside it. Annie forced herself to match Mary's determined stride, lest her legs tremble so badly she fell. Or touch something. And a white person, they can put their hands on anything they want, pick up stuff and put it back, like they own everything. Lord, you know better. You know we better not touch nothing unless we ready to pay for it. Better have the money in your hand. Annie's voice trailed and stopped abruptly when she caught a glimpse of the sheriff's car parked behind the courthouse. What would Bill Green think if she got arrested? She wondered. She thought about the stories she had heard from her uncles, her mother's younger brothers, about spending time in the jailhouse for speeding or drinking. They told about the sheetless cots, the stench of the peapot, but said that the sheriff's wife's biscuits were good. Annie did not want to try the sheriff's wife's biscuits. She did not want to be dragged out of Maze by the sheriff, to be touched by his big hands with the hairy knuckles she had once seen up close when he had come to give a talk at her high school. The thought of being close to him, his chewed cigar, and the big leather lump of holster and gun sent shivers through her. But Bill Green had said they should stand up. Bill Green had said that God would send the manna of justice if they would only stand up. Mary grimaced and balled up her fists as if to force her anger to a boiling point. White people make me sick. Every last one of them. Sick. What I'd really like to do is take old Lady May by her scrawny little neck and choke her. Annie tried to laugh, but her voice was too jittery. We're supposed to be peace demonstrators. I'd like to kick a piece of her butt. I don't like her either, Annie said, thinking what Reverend Green might say. But let's do this the right way. Let's just go in and ask to be served. And Annie stopped under May Green's awning. And when she don't, Mary whispered, what then? Except for the awning, May's was a flat-faced white clapboard building with a flat roof and a stepped crest. Only one of its double doors opened to admit customers. A bell jingled when they entered. Annie stood with Mary by the door, her eyes adjusting to the dimness, and breathed in a mixture of smells dominated by dust and wood polish. To her right was the cashier stand with a display of pocket combs, and crowded on long, narrow shelves in the middle of the store were goods, bolts of cloth, children's dolls, sewing kits, toiletries, firecrackers, shotgun shells, fashion magazines, and among everything, the Central, the town's weekly newspaper. In the back, the RX sign hung from the ceiling above the druggist's counter, hidden behind the clutter of inventory. Along the left wall was a linoleum-topped lunch counter with 5 backless stools anchored in front of it. It was junked with jars of pickles, loaves of sandwich bread, buns, and cake plates bearing donuts and pies. The spigots of a broken soda fountain were partially hidden in the clutter. Behind the counter was a grand mirror with ornate framing. It was placarded with menus and handwritten signs announcing specials. The mirror was greased, patterned on one side with a small electric grill that sat on a shelf. On the other side, 2 huge coolers stood bubbling lemonade and orangeade. A broken neon sign above the mirror announced, "Food that pleases, food to take home." High above were shelves on which rested plastic wreaths of cemetery flowers. "She must be in the back," Mary whispered, else she would have said something by now. Mary stepped quietly to the lunch counter and shot Annie an impatient frown. The scents of bath soaps and powders had attracted Annie as she passed the display, but she dared not touch them. "Maybe we should just buy something." "What for? You scared?" Annie straightened. "Do I look scared?" "Like you gun pass a watermelon. Just do like I do. She gun be scareder than us." The storage room door behind the lunch counter was open. A low voice came from the room, and suddenly they heard a long moan, as if someone or some animal were grieving. "Jesus," whispered Annie. She pulled on Mary's elbow. Mary pushed closer to the counter, took a deep breath, and pulled herself up onto the first stool. She sat for a moment, her eyes as excited as a child's on a fairground ride. "You ever sit on one of these?" She caught herself for being too loud. She put on a serious face, her lips folded under so as not to look too big, placed her feet on the shiny circular footrest, and adjusted her skirt. Annie looked over her shoulder, expecting to see Mrs. May's stick-like figure marching hurriedly toward them, but all was still except for the put-putting of the ceiling fans. Mary beckoned to Annie to sit on the stool beside her, and gingerly as a child testing hot bath water, Annie sat. She pulled herself up on the stool, forgetting to smooth her skirt as Mary had done. She sat ready to jump down at any moment. When the moan came again, she jumped. "Be there in a minute," drawled a woman from the storage room. It was not Mrs. May's voice, which was thin and whiny. A heavy woman dressed in a blue calico shift with a lace collar safety pinned at the neck stepped from the storage room. Her gray curls were pulled back. Her face looked soft and her eyes were large and round. When she saw the girls, the woman looked confused for a moment. Then she looked frightened and wrung her hands. "May I help ya?" she asked. Annie looked at Mary and Mary at Annie. They had never seen this woman before. After a moment, Mary drew a breath and said, "We would like to order." The woman pointed to the menu and stood back as if ready to retreat into the storage room. The moan came again from the room. "We don't want no takeout," Mary said, growing bolder. "We want to eat at the counter like white folks. We want you to write it down on your little pad and bring us silverware wrapped in a napkin." "But," the woman said, and then she blanched. "But..." The moan came again, loudly. She returned to the storage room. When the woman came back, she was shaking. I can't serve colored." Why can't you? Mary said. She tried to sound sophisticated. You have the food, you have the stove. All we want is a hamburger and some fries. She pointed to the orangeade, and some of that orange drink. The woman came slowly to Annie. Nervously, she put her hand out to the edge of the counter like she wanted to touch Annie. I don't want trouble, miss, she said. I'm just helping out my sister-in-law, Ella May. She's very sick, you know. She's got a gallbladder. I'm not even from here. I'm from West Virginia. I don't want any trouble. Yes, ma'am, Annie said, then cleared her throat, took a deep breath, and fought to control her jittery voice. We just want our rights. Listen, the woman said, I'll give you some food if you'll just take it on home. Then she added in a whisper, Mr. May will be back from the hospital soon, and please. No, Mary said firmly, crisping her endings the way their English teacher, Mrs. Bullock, had told them was proper. We done come all the way from Washington, D.C. We are a part of President Johnson's Civil Rights Committee, and we gonna report you to the Dr. Martin Luther King. The woman stepped back from the counter. She bumped against the ice cream box. She seemed not to believe Mary, but was too afraid to say otherwise. Mr. May will return soon, she said, too uncertain to be threatening. She strained to see out the front door. Annie knew she was looking to see if somebody white was out there and spun in a sudden fright. 2 black boys were brushing hayseed from their hair in front of the window. If it were up to me, the woman said, if it were up to me, I would be glad to serve you. I don't mind colored. Honest, I'm from West Virginia. It is up to you, Mary said, a crooked, dimpled smile on her face. Who else is here? How come you don't want us Negroes to have our rights? Please, the woman said, clasping her hands together. I don't want to have to call the police. Don't make me call nobody. She strained again to see the street. The moan came again. No one moved. They let the moan and the put-put of the fans bathe them. Annie felt the moan in the pit of her stomach. She held on to the seat of the stool. Maybe Mrs. May was dead, she thought, and someone was crying. They shouldn't be causing this trouble if Mrs. May was dead. Well, maybe we should come back when Mrs. May is here, Annie said vacantly, all the time moving a little ways down the counter, focused on the crack in the doorway to the storage room. She could only see a bare light bulb and switchcord and cans on the shelves. I'm not taking a step until I get served, Mary said. I don't care if Miss May, if the owner ain't here. You in charge, and I want my rights. The woman put her hand out to Annie. What if I made you a nice sandwich and you can take it with you? I'll let you have it free of charge. Ain't that some mess, Mary said, putting her hands on her hips. You even give us food, but you don't want us to sit and eat it like people. You rather see us go out back and eat it like a dog. You know how you white people is. I know how you white people is. I done seen it. You have your damn dog eat at the table with you, but you won't let a colored person. Do I look like a dog to you? I don't own a dog, the woman said. She no longer wrung her hands, but gripped one inside the other. I don't own this place. I'm just helping my sister-in-law, like I told you. And besides, it is the law. Like I told you, I got nothing against you. Not in the least. But what would Mrs. May or Mr. May say if they walked in here and I was letting you eat? They wouldn't like it. I don't care what they like. The customer is always right. The moan came again, this time discernible as a word. Mama. What's that? Mary asked, her eyes wide. It's nothing to you, the woman said. Annie saw a movement. a shadow behind the door. It was a slow, awkward swaying. The door squeaked and moved slightly. Annie looked first at Mary and then at the woman. "I'll tell you what is my business," Mary said. "This here piece of pie is, and I got a good mind to help myself to it right now." She reached out for the lid of the pie plate. "Don't let me have to call somebody." "Call who you like. I ain't scared. I'll go to jail if I have to." "Don't be ugly," the woman said and waved her hand. She might have been snatching a fly out of orbit. "Just take it and go." The moan came again, deep and pathetic. It reminded Annie of the mourning doves that she could hear from her bedroom window just after sunrise, only it was not so melodic as doves. "Go," the woman shouted. "You're upsetting him." The shadow swayed again, and the door, squeaking, was pulled open farther. Annie moved closer to the door, directly in front of it, separated from it only by the counter gate. She knew there was someone there. Some him, the woman had said, but something monstrously sorrowful, and she couldn't imagine what it was. Mary hopped down from the stool. "I told you I wanted it here." She jabbed her finger on the countertop. "Why don't you admit it? You just like every white person I ever seen, just as prejudiced as the day is long." "I'm not," the woman said. "You don't understand the position I'm in." "Mama." "I'm coming." The woman made a step toward the door. Then she turned back to Mary. "I'm not prejudiced." Her face was contorted. The moan came again with a resonating bass. "Baby," the woman said to the figure behind the door, and then to Mary, "Eat here then. Eat all you want. I don't care." Mary stood stiffly, smiled. There was a small silence. "Serve me," she demanded. "Serve your goddamn self," the older woman said, her voice rising to a screech. Annie heard the argument and glanced now and again at Mary and the woman, but now the door was slowly swinging open, and she could see the thick fingers of a man holding on to the edge of it. He was a big man, big and fat like the sheriff. Annie looked at the woman. She felt her lips part. The moan, almost a groan, vibrated in her chest. The man was like an animal, a hurt animal, calling for his mother, Annie thought. Now she was afraid in a different way. She remembered what her father had told her about hurt animals, how they turned on people who tried to help them, how their mothers attacked ferociously to save them. "Serve yourself." The woman had turned toward Mary. Her entire body trembled. Her hands, now unclasped, fanned the air. She pushed a loaf of sandwich bread across the counter toward Mary. She slapped a package of hamburger buns, causing it to sail and hit Mary on the shoulder. She threw Dixie cups, plastic forks, and paper napkins. Mary ducked below the countertop. "Serve yourself," the woman screamed. "Eat all the goddamn food you want." "Mama." Stepping cautiously, as if walking up to a lame, wild dog, Annie slipped through the counter gate. The door pulled all the way open, and the man stood there. Annie's heart skipped a beat. She reached back for the counter so she wouldn't fall. First, she saw his barrel chest bulging out in odd places under a pinned-together plaid flannel shirt. Then his thick neck, stiffly twisted so that one ear nearly lay against his hulking shoulder. His lips were thick and flat. One side of his face was higher than the other, like a clay face misshapen by a child's hand. His eyebrows were thick ridges that ran together at the top of his wide, flat nose. "Mama!" "He's just a baby." The woman came to the door and took the man's hand. She pulled him into the open, behind the counter, and rubbed the back of his hand furiously. His presence seemed to calm her. She glanced toward Mary and then to Annie. "It's the new place." She smiled as if inviting a stranger to look at an infant, then shot a look at Mary. He's not used to being over here. She patted the hand, and the big man smiled, deep dimples. She pinched his cheeks. Just a baby. What's wrong with him? Annie asked, recovering from the sight of him. The mother sighed. Just born that away, child. Just born like that. She looked back at Mary, who was straightening her clothes and wig. Maybe we'll all sit and have a piece of pie. The man smiled at Annie, and Annie managed to smile back. She reached behind her for the counter gate. Don't worry, the woman said. He is as gentle as a fly. He likes to be around people. She changed to baby talk. Don't you, Willie? Then she held out the man's hand to Annie. Here, pat the back of his hand. That's what he likes. Annie looked at his face, drool in the corners of his mouth. He had gray eyes that swam lazily in their sockets. Now she looked at the offered hand. It was the whitest hand she had ever seen, with thick, hairy knuckles and nubbed nails. Go on and pat him, the woman said. He's just a boy, your age. Go on, he likes it. She had never touched a white boy. She reached out for the hand hesitantly. The woman encouraged Annie. Annie wanted to look at Mary to see what she thought, but she could not break her focus on the man's hand. She saw her hand, so obviously brown, move into her focus, and then move closer and closer to the pale hand until her fingertips touched it. Go ahead, give him a pat. The man's hand was soft and damp, unlike any hand Annie had ever touched. She lifted her hand and patted the big hand twice, and then twice again. The man moaned, not any word, but like a dog enjoying a belly rub. See, the woman said. She looked at Mary. See, we are just people like you are. We don't want to hurt nobody, not a soul. She took back the man's hand and smiled at Annie. Tell you what, I'll cut us all a piece of pie. Can we have it at the counter? Mary glared at the woman, her lips poked out. The woman sighed loudly. Won't you understand? Then eat it by yourself. The woman turned to Annie and touched her hand. Won't you understand? Annie hesitated. The doorbell jingled and Mr. May came in. He was wiping under his straw fedora with a handkerchief. I'll be glad if that old witch did die, he was saying as he made his way to the back. Mary spun around and pretended to be interested in the bath soaps. You bein' hept? He asked gruffly as he approached her. Yes, sir, Mary said. The woman was trying to push the man back into the storage room. Mr. May stopped and put his hands on his hips. Damn, Sally, what is he doing out in the store? He's liable to scare somebody to death. And what? And what in the hell is that gal doing behind the counter? It's all right. The woman turned and waved Annie through the counter gate. She was just helping me with him. Look at this place. What the hell happened here? God damn it, you can't control that freak? It's all right, the woman said from inside the room where she was pushing the man. Y'all run along now. That wasn't fair, Mary said as they walked back to the fair lane. How come that stupid gorilla had to be there? How come she had to be there in the first place? Old Lady May, the one I wanted to be there. I could have said something if it hadn't been her. Annie said nothing. They passed the monument to the Confederate dead, standing in the courthouse yard. I don't know, Annie said. She was beginning to tremble on the inside. The world seemed complex and uncertain. She remembered touching the man, her brown hand against his white one. He was like a baby, soft and damp, and yet something about him, not just his size and his twisted face, frightened her. but she had been charmed by him for a moment, charmed by his softness and his dimples. She remembered the look on the woman's face when she had patted the man's hand. She thought the woman had loved her for a moment. "We never gonna get our rights." Mary clenched her teeth, "especially with you around patting that goddamn monster on the hand." "What was wrong with that?" Annie said. She knew there was nothing wrong with it. He couldn't help the way he was born. "If you don't know..." Mary reached out quickly and pinched Annie on the arm just above the elbow. She squeezed her nails into the pinch and twisted it before she let go. "Some civil rights marcher you is. Bill Green will be shamed to know you." Annie whimpered and put her hand over the pinched spot. "No," she blurted. "I want my rights." "Shit." Mary took Annie by the elbow and led her to the car. "I know you was trying. I know. It's just that we won't ever get nothing, unless we, she grimaced, "kill them or something." They reached the car and got in. Then Annie began to cry. Mary touched her hand to comfort her, but Annie pushed her away. Mary sped the car out of town on a road that cut through fields turning brown in the hot autumn sun. Annie put her head on the dash. Things were very complicated, far more complicated than she had ever thought. Food That Pleases, Food to Take Home by Anthony Grooms. Groom with an S? Oh, crap. Let me see. Anthony Grooms with an S. Food That Pleases, Food to Take Home. Okay. Hi, Dad. Were you there before, Dad? Did you see my penguin? Oh, you just watched. I forget. You just saw me reading on the screen. Judy's great-granddaughter gave me my penguins today. I like them. All right. More tomorrow. Enjoy your Friday afternoon. Double mask. Well, double mask if you can, or if you feel like you have to. I don't know. I bought extra masks for the library so we can double mask. Yeah, great. Oh, the penguins are great. Yeah. Yeah, double masking these days. I've been watching people start to double mask. I guess we're double masking. I don't know. Maybe I'll double mask when I'm in the library because there's public in here. Not sure. It's okay, though. I can do it. I can do whatever I have to do. We're all going to make it. We're going through the tunnel. Tunnel of love. All right, bye. See you tomorrow. Peace.